Let's debate whether what Biden is saying should be accepted by his party. Mehdi Hasan is the editor-in-chief and founder of news platform Zeteo, okay? Smart guy, very good analyst and arguer, and you're about to see that. And Democratic strategist, former advisor to then President Bill Clinton and many others. I grew up watching this man's point of view be taken as gospel by my father and brother, Hank Sheinkopf. It's good to see you both. So,
thank you.
Mehdi Hasan, let you start. The governors come out and say, we're good with Joe. Why isn't that the end of the conversation?
Thanks for having me, Chris. Just want to correct something from your very interesting, excellent monologue in many ways. I'm not a Democrat, right? I'm a progressive. I'm of the left. I'm not a member of the Democratic Party. I'm not approaching this as a Democrat. Well, I am actually as a small d Democrat. The reason I have a skin in this game, why I care about this fight, is because I care about the future of American democracy. As you say, we're about to celebrate the 4th of July, independence, American history. I believe all of that is at stake come November. And the only thing I care about is stopping the proto-fascist candidate that the GOP are putting up once again. And when I look at the polls, when I look at the debate last week, when I look at the numbers, it just is very clear that Joe Biden is in a very bad place, as you laid out in the introduction. No president has ever been this unpopular at this stage in the cycle, so close to Election Day. Thursday night was a car crash of a debate. That's when I came out and said he should step aside. I've never said that before. I said it Thursday night because it was just ridiculous what we saw on Thursday night, and because I see no way back for Joe Biden. One thing I've been waiting for the last few days is for a plan. What is the plan that Joe Biden has to recover all the voters he's losing by the day? He's down 6 points in the New York Times poll today among likely voters, 8 points, amongst registered voters. In fact, the most crucial stat, Chris, in that poll is that the number of Republican voters who want Biden to stay on as the nominee has gone up, not down, since last week, because the Republicans know he's eminently beatable. So I want to hear what the plan is. I don't think there's a plan. They briefed to Axios, Team Biden, he's going to give a great convention speech. We may get an interest rate cut, and that's going to deliver victory. That's BS. They're in a very bad place. If they switch now to Kamala Harris, they have some chance of recovering ground, having a younger, more effective prosecutor of the case, someone who can maybe turn the page on Gaza, and someone who could actually rhetorically beat up Trump at the next debate if there is another debate.
Hank, what is Mehdi missing or weighing differently than you do with the proposition of Biden?
Why don't we just rip up the Democratic Party, turn it into shreds, and throw it out the window? You know, I'm still a great believer in democracy. I believe the left would like to see the Democratic Party be ripped asunder. I think they'd like to see a generational shift, which is part of what's driving this. And I think there are people within the Democratic world, 3 people whatsoever, specifically, who are at war about what the future should look like in their own image or not. And I think Gaza has a good deal to do with it. The young generation, which probably won't turn out in the numbers people think to vote in the fall, would love to see Joe Biden gone. They would love to see something called progressivism put in its place. And there you have it, the battle between a generation of Bidens that has calluses on its hand, that bore burdens and paid a price, versus people who frankly have had it very good, have done very little, and paid no price at all. Therein lies the difference. So we can make a choice here. Either we're really Democrats who believe we should pay the burden and pay the price, or we're going to be something else. And the something else we've seen in our streets, it does not work. It doesn't work. They ain't working, and that won't work.
Well, let's do this. We're going to know more after the interview Sunday night, okay? I think they're doing it tomorrow. I would love to have you guys come back. This is going to be Mehdi's question. What's his plan? How does he present? It's not going to happen at the convention. It's going to happen or not with George Stephanopoulos in this interview. Fellas, please come back after the holiday. Let's see how he does, and then have the conversation, because then you're going to know everything you have to know about what the proposition is. Mehdi, thank you very much, and all good things at Zeteo. I love what you're putting out. I know it's only going to get broader and stronger. Thank you very much. Hank Sheinkopf, as always. Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of NewsNation's fact-driven coverage.